Hello, and welcome to another edition of our Town Administrator Update, our chance to talk with Town Administrator Paul Sagarino about what's been going on in town and get all the latest news. So, Paul, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me, Rich. It's great to be here.
So I know we're kind of like in the end of August. Things are a little bit slower than normal, but I think we have a few things we can discuss. First up is the Board of Health met on Tuesday to talk about how some communities in the area have been putting in mask mandates for businesses. Mm-hmm. They didn't go that far. They decided for an advisory. What's your takeaway from that discussion?
Rich, I can tell you this. This community should be so proud of our elected Board of Health and our health department and our director, Susan Luminello. I think they've provided us with great, steady leadership throughout the pandemic. I personally have been very grateful for their counsel in advising us as to what we should do with town buildings and town facilities. And again, just slow, steady, very reasonable leadership throughout the pandemic, and I couldn't be more thankful to have them. I know that they agreed to keep this sort of as a standing agenda item. As we both know, during this pandemic, I think we learned that the situation changes quickly. Right. So they're going to keep talking about this at upcoming meetings, and they'll be able to evaluate the data if it changes, and they'll be able to make changes to their recommendation as well. So I can't thank the Board of Health enough for their leadership during the pandemic.
And it seems like they had a pretty good sense of trusting the community. They said it was an advisory, not a mandate. They didn't want to make things a requirement, but they kind of are advising that if you're at the grocery store and it's crowded or that you're in a long line, maybe it's sensible to put on a mask.
No, I would agree 100%, and I think that our town has fared very well during the pandemic. I think our residents are very responsible people. I'm around town all week and many times on the weekends, and I do see a lot of mask wearing in grocery stores and sub shops, people being good, responsible citizens. So I think we really do, we work together as a team, as a community, and I think compared to other communities, we fared very well during the pandemic.
Yeah, and of course the one place where masks will be required are going to be in the schools, which now is sort of a state mandate and sort of got lifted off the local school committee, thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, I don't envy the school committee and Superintendent Conti's being in the middle of that whole thing. I think that they're always looking out for the benefit of the students, and I'm happy to endorse whatever decision they make as in terms of keeping our children safe in the schools.
Right. So we are about to enter September, so that means September town meeting. What are some of the big highlights of what we can expect to see? First of all, let's talk about what it's going to look like.
Yeah, from an email I received yesterday from the town clerk, we're going to be going with a hybrid virtual town meeting. There will be, similar to what we've had the last several, there will be an opportunity for those that want to appear in person. They'll make accommodations for them in separate breakout rooms at the high school, similar to what was done. So if a town meeting member wants to participate in person, they'll be able to do so. And I think that's worked out pretty well over the last, the last few meetings. So it should be similar to what we've dealt with, at least for the last 3 meetings. And hopefully it goes as smooth as it has gone.
Yeah, it's worked out surprisingly well, I would think. And as far as actual warrant articles, anything sort of
sure.
Stand up?
A couple big things on the town side. Hopefully they're no surprise to folks, but we have a warrant article to retrofit the Mill Pond plant to treat PFAS.
Yes.
As the whole town is aware, that was sprung on us several months ago, and we want to address that problem as quickly as possible. That's a $15 million warrant article for the retrofit, so it's not inexpensive, but we have to get it done, and we're hopeful that town meeting will support that. We also have a force main rehabilitation for the Francis Wyman sewer line. We've been doing a great job of renovating the town's pump stations and force mains related to the sewer system over the years. This is the next big one up. It's another big ticket item, approximately $2 million. But that pales in comparison to the problems it would cause if that line were to fail, and particularly for those neighbors in that
Yeah.
neighborhood. It's a very, very serious issue. So the time is now to get that taken care of. I think we had brought it forward last town meeting and pulled it back so that we could get more detailed cost information, but the time is right to do that project. One good thing that we have in our favor, as everybody is probably talking about on the news and whatnot, the ARPA funds. One of the primary uses of the ARPA funds is they want communities to invest in water, sewer infrastructure as well as broadband infrastructure. And we think some of these projects ultimately that we will be able to allocate some ARPA funds to offset the cost of the residents. So we're really excited about that.
All right, excellent. Now I know last year, because of the pandemic and the economic slowdown, there was a change of the budget. I haven't heard any winds of anything like that happening this year.
Yeah, we also have an article. One of the uses of the ARPA money is to provide for revenue replacement.
Okay.
That would allow us to supplement some of the revenue that we lost. And Rich, one of the biggest areas that we've been hit is the hotels.
Right.
Our hotels are really struggling. They're business travel hotels, and as we all know, business travel is very slow right now, and people have discovered the usefulness of using virtual meetings. So we're really concerned about our hotel industry. So that's one of the areas that really was suffering on the revenue side. So there will be an article to replace some of that revenue and to bring back some of the positions that were cut as part of the pandemic. So that is another article that's on town meeting as well.
Okay. So I know hotels are still struggling, but have we seen any improvement as far as with the meals tax in restaurants? It seems like a lot of the restaurants are pretty bustling these days.
The restaurants and the meals tax is coming back much more quickly than the hotel tax revenues. We're known for restaurants here, and like you just said, I'm in town frequently, and I see our restaurants very crowded. People enjoying themselves there. With the expansion of outdoor seating. So I think our restaurants are coming back much quicker than our hotels, and we're really happy about that because restaurants are a big part of Burlington's local economy at this point.
And speaking of restaurants, there's a recent sort of debate, I guess we could say, between the Board of Selectmen and the Burlington Mall about a liquor license for an incoming Brazilian steakhouse, Fogo de Chao. Can you just sort of explain the situation and, what the controversy was about?
Absolutely, Rich. The controversy relates to the Besido, formerly known as Besido Restaurant liquor license. Besido left us in 2018. They have a license available for that site, which, according to the Alcohol and Beverage Commission regulations, that's what we would call an all-town license. So that liquor license could be moved anywhere in town. If
Right.
we were to have a restaurant that wanted to come in on Wall Street or Middlesex Turnpike or elsewhere in town, we could issue that license there. The town also has many licenses that are specific to the mall address.
Right, which came from special legislation in 2018.
Yeah, special legislation a few years ago. So I believe that there's still upwards of 9 licenses unissued there. And this is really a very simple to understand dispute, I would say. Simon wants to use that license first, and the select board would actually prefer that they hold off on using that license. So
Right.
the board, I think, has been very respectful to Besido. It was an economic asset to that company, so the board has not taken the license back to the town. What they've suggested to Simon is that they would request that Simon use the licenses that are issued specifically that can only go at the mall property, and I don't mean just the Simons, the entire mall property.
Right.
Use those licenses first and just allow the town to have at least one license. If a restaurant were to come in and want to locate elsewhere in town that's not at 75 Middlesex Turnpike, then the board would have a license to issue elsewhere in town. And it's as simple as that. I understand both sides of the disagreement, and
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward economic incentive.
And again, I'm happy it wasn't, it's not a nasty discussion. It's just a very difference of opinion as to which licenses should be used first.
Right. And I mean, this is like the last town-wide license I think that's available right at this time.
Correct.
Right. So I mean, it kind of makes sense that the
There's
board
a,
would want
there's a
little
license
leeway.
at the former Del Frisco's, but we've been hearing that that one's being resolved and that there'll be another tenant coming into that space, although they have not revealed who. So that would make the Bacito license sort of the last license that could go elsewhere in town.
Right. And I do believe there are a couple for the town center.
Yep, there are also licenses available specifically to the town center overlay district. It's something that we would love to attract attention to. I think the board lowering the seating requirements for a liquor license was an attempt to try to attract restaurant operators to the town center as well.
Right.
But those licenses are also specific, much like the mall license is to the town center.
Right. Right. And lowering the seating was like an attempt to bring in more like smaller,
Yeah, I mean,
locally owned maybe.
The seating requirements, if you looked at it, sort of made it seem like we should have larger restaurants. And by lowering the number of seats, we were hoping to attract somebody who wanted to open a smaller venue in conjunction with a liquor license.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, like I said, it's August. It's a little slower than normal. Anything else that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so. Just a couple of things to note. Celebrate Burlington. Unbelievable job by the Recreation Department as usual. Fantastic event. We've gotten tons of compliments about that. And just as an upcoming event, Rich, on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, we're upgrading the monument on the town common in time for that. And we would certainly encourage as many residents as possible to attend the very thoughtful ceremony that the town does on 9/11.
Yeah. Do you have on top of your head the time that it's starting?
It's typically in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't have the specifics yet, but
Well,
I'd say in the
we'll-
9:30, around the 9:30
Yeah.
time frame. I think there's bells that are rung for the planes and the times of
Right. the actual attack.
the actual attack on the building. So.
Right. Well, we'll definitely be in talks with the Veterans Affairs, and we'll have all that information up on BCAT. So
Great, I appreciate that.
absolutely, and we will be there. All right. Well, thank you for taking some time on this hot summer day to come in and to our studio and spend some time talking about the latest news of Burlington.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Rich.
Thank you.